Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK and WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always making your way here. Checking out the series. You know what to do. If you like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, new one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So it's a great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover some new ones, all the usual spots, including iTunes and Apple Podcasts, at Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, WFPK.org, or of course, right here on YouTube. Kyle Meredith, that's me. And today, going to be talking with a pair of actors, Jemima Kirke and Ashley Zuckerman. Now, we're going to be talking about the Apple TV Plus series called City on Fire. City on Fire was a book originally by Garth Risk Hallberg, and came out 2015 or so. And the series is done by Josh Schwartz and Stephanie Savage. Now, they're responsible for Gossip Girl and The OC, among others. And it's a bit of a whodunit. Someone gets shot right at the beginning. There is an affair. There is addiction. There is lots of music. In fact, when we talk about 2002, 2003 in New York, of course, we're talking about that era of the Strokes and the White Stripes and Interpol and LCD Sound System and the Yeah Yeahs are all represented here. So I'm going to be talking about some music, but we're going to be talking really about these characters. These characters, nobody's in a good spot. Exactly. Everybody's sort of dealing with a lot. And whether it's the affairs, whether it's the shooting, whether it's these fires that are happening all over New York City. Of course, this is right after 9/11. And right as the blackouts were about to happen too, that plays a big part in it. So everybody's dealing with a lot. So we're going to get into that and so much more. Let's talk about it. We're discussing City on Fire. It's Kyle Meredith with Jemima Kirke and Ashley Zuckerman.
Hey, Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
Nice to meet you both. And I guess let's start with the compliments. City on Fire. What a beautifully shot, beautifully acted, engaging story. That had me guessing the entire time. This is a really great one. Congrats to you both.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll start trying to figure out the heavy part of the fun part. We'll start with the fun part. Playing in the early 2000s, when you're playing into an era in a series like this, is it easier to make a connection since you're there? Is it dangerous to play the fantasized nostalgia version? And I'll throw that to whoever wants to take the first one.
Well, can you explain that question? What do you mean? But like the nostalgia version of the character, or
the era? It's easy for us to look back, and for me, I should say, I don't want to project. It's easy for me to look back on an era, and you think of the pop culture side. Oh, the '90s were grungy, but they were so much more than that. And there's, when you're playing into an era, for me, it feels like there is a fantasized version, or maybe that's not a part of it at all. I mean, Jemima, is it? You were there. You're maybe part of this scene. I mean, is it easier for you to make the connection to this time in the world?
it wasn't. It really wasn't on my mind much when I was playing this character. The time period. I mean, yes, of course, there's the sort of inconveniences of not having navigation or being able to access, get in touch with someone so easily. But it's not because I wasn't playing someone who is part of, the early aughts nightlife. It wasn't something that I needed to, get nostalgic about. Although, of course, I was nostalgic for it reading the script. I do remember those times really well. Those are formative years, and I am Sam's character at heart. That's really who I should have played, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that. But I think there's something funny about that. That for us, like the early aughts, that was the time that we were coming of age. So for me, like, I actually feel like that's still it. Like, like that's where I exist the most. Like that's what life feels like. Like that's where I discovered who I was when I discovered who I was. Like I'm sure the younger members of the cast probably consider it a period piece, but like it just feels very natural. Yeah. So but it is also funny. It was funny thinking about it, like when the script came in and it was like, 2003, and
this is an era now?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
this is an era.
I remember getting it and going, oh, this is genius. They're turning the early aughts into into an era with, you know, with specific sort of a fashion sense it's just, I didn't think of it that way. You know, I don't know. But
yeah, I'd be
I suppose
interested
it
to
is.
see what the others say about it, because for me it still feels like a bit of a cultural black hole, and I don't know if that's actually true or just my sense of it.
Well, some people who are like 10 years younger than us think they remember the early aughts, but they're like children in the early aughts, so you don't really remember it unless you're like out and about a bit, you know.
Sure. And that I would imagine that is surreal, actually, kind of playing around with that. But there is the fun parts, you know, and as I am surrounded by the music posters, that was what drew me in immediately when I saw, you know, hearing those songs, you know, seeing the cutaways to the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and LCD Sound System and Radiohead. I know that you all didn't get to play with that as much as some of the other characters, but do you use that as part of it? Do you use the music in the from the era maybe as to get, I don't know, in character to kind of find the story?
No, not really. I don't think Regan has time to listen to music, but she knows. I mean, she knows enough to know what's vaguely what's hit. You know, she does. There is a reference to the Libertines, so. But I don't think music plays a big part in her life.
Yeah. But you did get to play around with a little bit of the makeup side in that, you know, brief moment with, I don't know if I'd call it the 80s new wave look, but that looked
Oh
like.
yeah, oh yeah, that was fun, and an era that I can't attest to really, because I was, you know, not 18 in that, whenever that was, you know, the mid 80s or late 80s, but yeah, it was fun.
You know, the hair looked great. It really did, honestly.
Thank you.
Neither of these characters, I will say, feel very close to your real life counterparts. I don't know you obviously, but just you know, from the interviews I see and everything, do you base them on someone like? I guess it's important to note neither one of them feel like a caricature, but this feels very opposite of both of you all. Ashley, I'll start with you. Like, do you base it on anyone?
Yeah, it's funny though, but on myself, I think like I just look for the parts in me that match, and I think I've had feelings and thoughts and urges in the same way that character has. Like I've you know, I look for the things, the ways we're similar more than the ways we're different, and there's a loneliness to him. There's a feeling of not being seen. Like there are those kinds of things that universal that I try to tap into. But that's nice that it comes off as very different. But yeah.
The behaviors and the sort of the personality of the character doesn't matter as much as just relating to a feeling, right? It's not that I would do or behave the same way as Regan or react the same way as Regan to a certain situation. But if I read a scene and I think this is how she's experiencing something, I find an experience that is the same. And it's funny, you know, when I read a script, usually I'm like, oh God, this is a real stretch, this character. I don't know how I can find anything in common with them. And then after a few more reads, I'm like, oh my God, I am this person. I am this person. This is perfect for me and perfect for me at this time in my life and whatever. You just have to find the thread. Yeah. But it's not a direct parallel. It's not, you know, it's more emotional.
Sure. And what actor exactly wants a direct parallel on something like this? Like, it feels like it would be a lot of fun to kind of, even for you, Ashley, like playing someone who's set up immediately to be unlikable. Like, you're not the villain, but you're not the like, is that, yeah, like, is that enticing?
Yeah, well, I think it was. I mean, it's always, yeah, that's right. It's always nice to have things like working against you. Those are always the nicer characters to play. When there's more gristle there, and you can tap into darker things. When you can, you know, when you're able to.
When you have to find a connection where it's not obvious.
But also in where you can antagonize other people. Like those are nice things to play, and they're always fun. But I think but I don't know if I ever set out and I don't know if I ever look for that. Those just become the more fun characters to play. But I think, like Jemima said, like the things that define him, the affair, like to an 18-year-old in our story, is so it's so specific and uncomfortable that
we talked a lot about that. Actually.
Yeah, and it actually only because one, like something we talked about early on was this idea that this isn't just an affair. This is an affair with an 18-year-old. That's an entirely different pathology.
And it says so much about the character.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not, when you read a character like that, it's not like you go, okay, would I ever do that? Could I do it? No, you go, okay, have I had a weakness of character in a moment like that, or done something that's like completely shameful or whatever?
And it did and if I had judgments before, which I still do, it did make me think about the person who does that, and a lot of people do that. And when you go on a journey of trying to empathize and try to understand someone, that's what I mean by seeing more similarities in yourself. Like for Keith in our story, like the key is that through Sam, he felt like he was. He could be the person he always thought he was. Right. Like he saw a reflection of himself that he liked better than the life that he was actually living. And this is, we understand, like an entirely like arrested adolescent view of life. This is something that like happens mostly in men because they haven't had to face many challenges and they haven't had to grow. And especially like a character like mine who's wealthy and white and like just had everything laid out in front of him and was able to fail upwards his entire life. And so it's a testament to their relationship that Jemima's character actually like draws a line in the sand, and it's the first time in his life that he has to grow and he has to develop.
But I think you can't. No character can be completely unlikable, or especially if you're acting as them, right? They have to you have to understand them, right? And I think that Keith there's the saving grace of him is that he regrets and he has remorse for it, right? And he perseveres to getting his marriage back, right? Which is, and Regan is just a total punisher, throughout the whole thing, which is something I had to sort of, was a stretch for me, because I'm a much more sort of understanding person, and so I had to ask myself this question all the time, like, why is she being like this? And I did get there, but yeah.
I started rooting for him. I really did, and I didn't expect that. And I think that says when there's mercy at your feet, when he throws yourself at your feet, that's when it. And I know I only got a couple minutes here. That line, "I was that girl and I strangled her so that we could have this," is one of the most powerful moments of the entire series, and a hell of a line. And I heard they sort of changed that for you. Is that right?
I don't know. No, I think it was in there. There was some stuff that was changed. No, what was I asked to be in my underwear, so there's that. But I think that's the only change to that scene. But no, I don't think there are any cue directions or anything that I changed.
But there was something about because when I first read the script, because of the thrill element of our story, we don't have a lot of time to, and because like we're mostly with Jemima's character, we don't have a lot of time to actually delve into like the relationship or the issues that actually come out of this specific, pathology. So
you mean between the characters?
Yeah, we don't actually get to like really confront like the affair in any kind of meaningful ongoing way, because
or why it happened, or what their relationship
dynamic
was
is
before.
That's right. So
you have to make that's also part of it, is you have to write some of that stuff in your head,
and And it was like, and when I read that, that was like a worry for me, that I was like, oh, like, one, the story just doesn't have time. Like, you're dealing with like the collapse of everything in your life, the business, you're an ailing father, and now the affair and raising two young kids, and there's a murder investigation going on. So the show doesn't have time to deal with that issue. Hopefully we get to do that in season 2, but I was worried that we wouldn't be able to kind of delve into that. And then, like, one of the reasons I signed on was because you were attached in that role, and I thought, like, no, well, I hope.
No,
we don't want to blow too much smoke. If we have to do another season, we don't want to. That's it. Yeah. Then, like, I thought, like, then it's always going to be interesting. Like, there's always something very real and very, like, we can really delve deep very quickly, and that's what I think that's what hopefully we were able to do.
No, this wasn't scenes from a marriage, let's put it that way. We didn't have time for that, but we have, as actors, we have time for it in our backstory.
Well, there was so much to grab onto, and again, you all did it beautifully. I love this series. I'm hopeful that the story gets to continue as well. Jemima, Ashley, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it. It's really been a pleasure and an honor.
Yeah,
thank you.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.